Discover the amazing moment a single dad CEO falls for his cousin's substitute at a wedding booth. Jake stood by the entrance of the beautifully decorated tent, his palms clammy and his heart unusually heavy, fighting the urge to retreat back to the familiar chaos of piles of unfinished construction projects. He was a 35-year-old single dad managing his family's struggling construction business, and now, here he was, every second threatening to remind him of the weight of his late father's expectations. The laughter ringing through the campy embrace of twinkling lights felt out of reach, a distant echo amidst his mounting concerns. A whirlwind of thoughts raced through his mind. Bills loomed large like shadows, each one a small reminder of failure in a business his father had nurtured. Jake hesitated, his mind spiraling through doubts. Could he turn things around? Was the pressure to uphold a dying legacy too great? He felt overwhelmed, standing at the crossroads of parenthood and the relentless demands of being a CEO, questioning every choice he made. While others reveled under the twilight, he grappled with that gnawing feeling of being strangled by family loyalty and desperate for personal happiness. Just then, laughter floated on the wind, breaking his reverie. He turned and saw Mia, a bright-eyed substitute teacher with curly hair and a genuine smile that lit up the night. They locked eyes and something sparked within him, a flicker of connection that took him by surprise. Their conversation flowed easily as he found himself disclosing the burdens he carried not just for the business, but as a father trying to fill the void left by his wife's departure. He shared his dreams, and for the first time in ages, he felt seen. But that flicker was quickly overshadowed by unease that he could feel the watchful gaze of his family behind him, a maze of ties held together through expectation and duty. His cousin, the wedding's bride, chafed as she caught sight of their interaction. A quiet betrayal surged in her eyes, heavy with whispers of nepotism and family loyalty overshadowing personal desires. Jake shifted on his feet, sensing conflicting loyalties spiraling into an uncomfortable quagmire. Should he pull away for the sake of family? Or dare to embrace this flicker of affection? A net of pressure tightened around him, and he fought against the tide of growing anguish. Before he could verbalize his retreat, Mia leaned closer, sharing her own vulnerabilities. She opened up about her repressed artist dreams, about chasing acceptance and always feeling like she fell short. He felt a swell of admiration and a deep yearning. For the first time, he questioned what mattered more, honor or happiness. The tension in his chest escalated. How could he choose when both options pulled him apart? Before he could decide, the evening burst forward with toasts and laughter, yet inside, he felt like he was crumbling. A moment of clarity hit him. Those connections that tied him to family should not come at the sacrifice of his heart. Just as he took a step towards Mia, resolve firming, their world snapped. Chaos erupted in the form of shouts from across the tent. A family crisis was unfolding, the stakes rising, and Jake found himself torn. Would he muster the courage to pursue his heart, risking family bonds tightly woven with years of tradition, or retreat into the shadows like so many times before? The evening lingered on a precipice, and Jake stood silently at the eye of the storm, heart racing, knowing he had to choose. The air crackled with tension as Jake's mind raced. He turned, weighing the impact of his choices against his growing desire to explore his feelings for Mia. But before he could make any decision, the shouting intensified, a cascade of anxiety rippling through the wedding festivities. His cousin's voice, sharp and wounded, slashed through the gathering like a knife, pulling his attention back to the familial storm brewing. "Are you kidding me? This is my wedding day." The bride screeched, her anger directed at a guest who dared to raise a controversial topic. Jake could only watch as his family's carefully curated celebration fractured under the pressure of unspoken grievances. His heart sank further. This was a side of family that resonated with him, a reminder of all the dynamics he had tried so hard to escape. He hesitated, torn between the chaos of familial expectations and the intoxicating possibility of connecting with Mia. The idea of abandoning the chaos seemed selfish, but could he really allow himself to drown in the obligations of family, never allowing room for the happiness he craved? In that split second, he realized something profound. The legacy he inherited was more than just business. It was also the dichotomy of love and sacrifice that bound his family together. The truths hidden beneath layers of loyalty and duty shone painfully bright. As the shouts continued, fueled by years of pent-up frustrations, Jake found a strength within himself. Perhaps it was time to confront not just the family crisis before him, but the more significant crisis nestled within his own heart. Mia was still nearby, watching the scene unfold with wide eyes, her expression a mix of concern and confusion. Deep down, he knew he couldn't ignore the flicker of connection they shared, nor could he go back to pretending that the emotional burdens were lighter than they truly were. They deconnected over mutual vulnerabilities, and he realized the more he pushed away his feelings, the deeper he sunk into his self-imposed isolation. With resolve hardening in his chest, Jake turned back to Mia, swinging against the tide of familial obligations. In that moment, he decided to be open to honor not only his father's legacy but also the authentic parts of himself that had been buried for far too long. "Let us get some fresh air," he suggested, his voice steady and intentional. It was a simple invitation, but it carried the weight of everything he needed to express a step beyond the chaos crashing around them, towards something uncharted. Mia nodded, her eyes brightening slightly despite the tension surrounding them. Together, they stepped away from the din of upset and confusion, choosing to find solitude within the backyard of the venue. The wind whispered softly as they walked, and the stars watched over them like sentinels of hope. "What do you want, Jake?" Mia asked softly, breaking the silence that had enveloped them as soon as they found a quiet corner. His heart raced, not just at her question but at the honesty behind it. "I want to understand what this is," he admitted, gesturing between them and watching as her gaze flickered with surprise, then curiosity. "Us?" she asked, the faintest hints of a smile teasing her lips. Realization struck him hard. He wanted more than emotional solace, he craved a partnership. But the risk of family fallout loomed over him, a stark shadow now entwined with that flicker of affection. Jake felt the familiar tightness in his chest return, battling against the burgeoning hope that their connection might hold the potential for something more than transient sympathy. As he opened his mouth to respond, ready to voice all that he yearned for, they were interrupted by a new commotion, another family controversy brewing dangerously close. Jake paled. It seemed the moment was slipping away and he was left with a decision that loomed larger than the chaotic night around them. Would he confront this conflict head-on, or would he retreat once more into the safe familiarity of obligation? The tension weighed heavily in the air. Each second teetering on the brink of revelation. What if, he thought to himself, this is the moment to reconnect with my desires and fight for something worthwhile? The chaos of familial discord echoed behind them as a jeering voice cut through the night. Despite the commotion, Jake could feel the atmosphere shift around him, the air thick with unsaid words and untamed emotions. He wasn't sure how to tackle this burgeoning relationship with Mia while family obligations clawed at his conscience. With a rapid heartbeat, he recognized that his inability to act was not just about the risks to his image but also about the fear of embracing a path toward emotional fulfillment. As a gust of wind brushed past, he locked eyes with Mia. Her gaze was steady, almost pleading, as if she understood the weight he carried. "Jake," she said softly, "this moment feels significant. Are you going to let it slip away?" Her words struck deep, igniting a battle within him. Was this really a moment that could shift the course of his life? Visibly torn, he considered the implications of his next move. Committing to Mia might mean decisively stepping beyond the weary confines of family expectations. The image of his parents flashed through his mind, not the perfect vision his family projected at gatherings but real and raw. They fought through turmoil together, sometimes uncomfortably, sometimes joyfully. Wasn't that what true partnership demanded? "I want to be honest with you, Mia," he finally breathed, his voice low but resolute. "I've always believed that family comes first," but the words faltered for a second, a vulnerability he hadn't been prepared to express bubbling to the surface. "But I feel like I need to follow where this could lead." Mia's expression shifted, a blend of hope and concern swirling behind her striking gaze. "You mean us? You'd risk it all?" Jake nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. It wasn't simply about choosing between family and Mia, it was about breaking free from the chains of his upbringing that dictated loyalty over self-fulfillment. His heart raced as he pushed through the anxiety. If their connection was to grow, it needed to be nurtured in truth, not silenced by familial chaos. But the battle wasn't over. The party behind them escalated, and Jake could hear the mounting drama ripple through the night, each shout reminding him of the unrest that awaited him back in the midst of relatives, cameras, and the facade of perfection. The weight of his family's expectations clashed fiercely against his yearning for authentic connection. I have to do something, he thought, feeling the urgency seep deeper into his bones. Mia's presence, her vulnerability, strengthened his resolve. If I don't step up now, I might never have the courage to again. His internal debate was illuminated by a fierce clarity. He wouldn't allow fear to dictate his destiny any longer. If he wanted more than echoes of obligation, he had to be willing to challenge it all. Let us go back, he said, surprising even himself with the fortitude flooding his voice. I need to face this whatever it is. Whatever's behind us, or ahead. Mia searched his eyes, a mixture of apprehension and admiration reflected there. Are you sure? Yes, he affirmed. I need to fight for us. The ripples in his spirit felt as much of a weapon as any family grievance, unyielding yet powerful. As they made their way back towards the raucous tent, he felt a growing sense of agency envelop him, guiding each step. Maybe confronting this family rift was not merely about obligation, instead, it could become a crucible for transformation, one where he learned not just about family pain, but also love and authenticity. Yet as they stepped back into the maelstrom, the stakes rose. The shouting intensified, thickening the air with a tension that felt almost tangible. Jake's stomach churned. What awaited him could either shatter the walls he built or reshape his very identity. Would he muster enough courage to confront not just family feuds but his own heart? The moment of reckoning had begun, and as Jake took a deep breath, a revelation flickered, a realization of how every call for love came with its own price. As they approached the chaotic backdrop of the event, the sounds of laughter and discontent swirled around Jake like a tumultuous sea. Each discontented shout from his relatives felt like a wave crashing against him, threatening to knock him off balance. Still, amidst the turmoil, he felt a new sense of grounding, a flicker of resolve ignited by the realization that he was more than just an extension of his family's legacy. He was Jake, an individual capable of forging his own path. The scattered memories of past family gatherings surged through him. The secretive glances exchanged among relatives, the hushed conversations swirling around him like a fog he had never wanted to penetrate. He recalled moments of laughter laced with tension and how often he played the part of the dutiful son, the one who kept the peace. But tonight felt different. The stakes felt higher. He was not just stepping into a role, he was claiming his truth. Jake, maybe we shouldn't. Mia's voice broke through his reverie. The concern in her tone caught him off guard, but he realized that time was short. He needed to lead with honesty, not just for himself but for her too. No, he said, his voice steadier now. We need to. This is bigger than us, Mia. I can't keep pretending everything is okay. They paused just outside the brightly lit tent, where the shadows of family members danced against the fabric walls. Jake felt the weight of expectation bearing down like a heavy shroud. What would they think when he diverged from the script they had all played for so long? Would they see it as weakness or strength? Mia squeezed his hand, grounding him in the moment. You're not alone in this, she said, her eyes unwavering. Whatever happens, we're in it together. Jake's heart swelled with the warmth of her support. He had spent his life trapped in expectation, catering to others' visions of who he should be. For the first time, he felt the possibility of rewriting his narrative, one where honesty and desire took precedence over obligation. Gathering his courage, he pushed the tent flaps aside and stepped into the flickering light, where chaos unfolded. Voices mingled in a cacophony of joy and grievance, laughter flowing like a river intermixed with angry outbursts. His family stood at the center of it all, a web of emotions tangled up in the quest for acceptance. He focused on his parents first, both poised at the edge of the crowd, their expressions a volatile mix of concern and irritation. Jake approached them, and with every step, he consciously dropped the armor he wore so well. "Mom, Dad," he called out, surprising even himself with the volume, "we need to talk." The chatter stuttered for a moment, all eyes pivoting toward him. Silence gripped the air, heavy and expectant. There was no retreating now, he had crossed over into the territory of authenticity, a realm filled with vulnerability and truths long deferred. "What is it, Jake?" his father asked, eyebrows raised, the shuffle of feet on grass barely audible. With Mia at his side, a pillar of strength, he faced them. "I've been going along with everything, trying to please the family, but I can't do that anymore. I need to live for myself. I need to be honest about how I feel, especially about Mia." Gasps escaped the crowd, and a murmur cascaded through family members. Anxiety tumbled in his stomach. He was unmoored, the very fabric of their familial order threatened by his declaration. "Jake, this is not the place," his mother interjected, her voice sharp, though laced with desperation. "Think of what others will say. And what about how I feel?" He pressed, the irritation bubbling to the surface. "All my life, I've held everyone's expectations above my own. What about my happiness?" For every word spoken, Jake felt powerful waves of clarity wash over him. Here, at the crossroads of past obligations and future possibilities, he was claiming ownership of his life. But would they validate him or seek to suppress this new clarity? Mia's hand tightened around his, a reminder that he was not alone as tension mounted in the crowd. Their eyes darted between him and his family, interested yet uncertain. As silence lingered, Jake's gaze on Mia turned into an unspoken promise, whatever followed would have meaning. He had made his choice. Now, the true confrontation would arise. What would it take to shatter the facade that had kept him imprisoned for too long? The question hung heavily in the air, begging for an answer, a moment that could redefine everything he thought he knew. Just as he braced for the response that would determine his fate, a voice rang out from the back. "You think you can just walk away from family?" Jake's heart sank, recognizing the familiar tone as his cousin Lee, the embodiment of everything he had fought against. Would this confrontation unravel everything, or could it be the catalyst for genuine change? Jake felt the pit in his stomach deepen as Lee's challenge hung in the air like a storm cloud, ominous and unyielding. The challenging tone ignited something primal in him, stirring a mix of fear and defiance. He had never been one to confront. In his family, avoidance had been the default method for dealing with discord, a way of maintaining the illusion of harmony. But the cost of that peace had been his own happiness. "Walk away." "No," he said, his voice rising above the murmurs. "I'm not walking away from family. I'm stepping into my life." Tension crackled in the air. Family members exchanged glances, weighing his words against the echo of tradition. Would they label his declaration as a betrayal or applaud it as courage? Each hesitation sent ripples of anxiety through him. Lee stepped forward, arms crossed. "You think this is some kind of revelation? We're all struggling with expectations. But you know what? You don't get to just opt out. It doesn't work that way." Jake clenched his fists, fighting the urge to retreat. Lee's words cut deeper than he wanted to admit. The age-old script of family obligations and societal pressures loomed over him. It was the narrative he had played a part in for too long. "You say that because it's easy for you," Jake shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. "All of you have hidden behind the safety of expectations while I've watched my own identity fade." His heart raced, an undercurrent of resolve fueling him. As he stood there, illuminated by the chaotic glow of family drama, he understood that this wasn't just a personal crisis, it was the shared burden of generational choices and silence. "Jake," his mother interjected, panic rising in her voice. "We all want what's best for you. Don't throw it all away. You're jeopardizing everything we've built." "What about what I want?" he challenged, daring to meet his mother's gaze. "Isn't there room for my happiness in this legacy?" In that moment, Jake sensed a shift within himself, a recognition of the power that came from voicing his truth. Each word felt like a stepping stone toward self-empowerment. He was no longer the silent participant. He was actively sculpting his own narrative, and with every exchange, he saw flickers of realization dance in his relative's eyes. Mia's supportive grip provided a steady cadence to his heartbeat. He turned to her, drawing strength from her unwavering spirit, and then back to the crowd. "I'm not asking for approval," he declared, projecting the words into the charged atmosphere. "I want my life to reflect who I truly am, someone with dreams and desires beyond this. I need space to explore that, starting now." Crew murmurs swelled, curiosity and dissent mixed together, the reality of his departure from the script unsettling yet exhilarating. Jake sensed the tremble of their uncertainty, a collective questioning of their established norms. He faced Lee once more, asserting his newfound resolve. "You don't get to dictate what being family means. I've already crossed the threshold into a new understanding of myself, and I won't backtrack." The crowd remained silent, each relative locked in contemplation. Jake felt exposed yet liberated, his heart drumming with awareness of the change brewing around him. Perhaps it wasn't just his truth on the line, perhaps their truths were, too. As the silence stretched, Jake could feel the possibility of acceptance or resistance looming in the air. The stakes were high, and he wondered what would unfold now that the unspoken truths had been voiced. Just as uncertainty clouded the moment, his uncle stepped forward, expression hardening into a frown. "You think change is that easy? What happens when you face the reality of your choices?" The question struck like a lightning bolt, raw and invigorating. Jake squared his shoulders, ready to confront not only his family but also the inner turmoil he had long evaded. Change would be painful, no doubt, but he had awakened something within him he could no longer ignore. He took a breath, preparing for the next wave of confrontation that might just redefine not only their relationship but also his place within this family. Would they embrace his growth, or would he stand alone, embarking on a path that might fracture everything he had known? The next exchange could either anchor or alienate him, and Jake braced himself for whatever revelation lay ahead. Jake's heart raced as his uncle's words echoed in his ears, a sharp reminder of the potential consequences that lay ahead. He could feel the weight of the room pressing down on him, the eyes of his family dissecting his resolve. Each heartbeat was a reminder of the stakes. This was not merely about him, but about breaking a cycle that had ensnared generations. "Face the reality of my choices?" He shot back, the conviction in his voice surprising even him. "You mean the reality of your choices, the ones that confined us to this stagnant existence?" "I'm ready to face whatever comes next, even if that means standing alone." A murmur rippled through the audience. His family, once a source of unwavering support, now felt like an assembly of strangers. And yet, amidst that unsettling sensation, Jake realized he had begun to carve out his own space. This was his refusal to conform, a powerful act of rebellion against the shadow of obligation cast by those before him. Lee's expression was a mix of incredulity and irritation, as if Jake's transformation was an affront to the status quo. "Great, so what are you going to do about it? Run off and chase dreams?" "It's not that simple." The challenge struck a chord, pulling Jake down an avenue of reflection. What did it mean to chase dreams? Could it be more than an escape from family ties? He took a brief moment, allowing uncertainty to wash over him. He had spent his life trying to fit into everyone else's mold. "It's not just about chasing dreams," he finally said, his voice firm yet tinged with vulnerability. "It's about becoming the person I am, regardless of what has been expected of me." He could feel Mia's steady gaze behind him, infusing him with the strength needed to continue. This wasn't just an outburst, this was a commitment to self-discovery and growth that he owed not just to his family, but to himself. "Who was I before I decided to play it safe?" he thought, his inner voice questioning the years of conformity. "What do I truly desire?" Then it struck him, a realization as bright as day: he had hidden talents that had long been dormant. Jake had been a painter before he buried those aspirations under layers of responsibility. The memory jolted him, sparking a flicker of inspiration buried beneath his contrasting life choices. Perhaps it's time to pick up a brush again, he thought, an unexpected surge of excitement coursing through him. Maybe the world I've been avoiding is calling me back. Suddenly, the prospect of pursuing that passion became a part of this new trajectory he was forging. Regardless of how his family reacted, he would explore this path. An unmentioned part of himself was desperate to surface. But there lay another question, one filled with promise and trepidation. Would they accept this new Jake the artist, the dreamer, or would they recoil, pushing him further from the very fabric of the family he sought to connect with? As the silence hung in the air, Jake braced himself for the oncoming storm. A tempest of curiosity, resentment, and perhaps a glimmer of hope hovered around, and he wondered what direction this conversation would take. He could see his family's wheels turning, their expressions morphing with every passing second. Acceptance lingered like a shimmering mirage just out of reach. Maybe this is the new reality I need to navigate, Jake thought, pushing the boundaries of his resolve even further. I'll learn to balance between the love I feel for my family and the love I must find within myself. Just then, he caught a fleeting glimpse of his mother's visage softening, the weight of years of expectation etched in her eyes. Perhaps she remembered who he used to be, the creative soul eager to explore the world through art. But before he had time to ponder any longer, he felt the energy of the room shift dramatically. "Are you truly ready to risk everything?" his uncle asked again, voice low and steady, but with an edge that felt like warning and challenge combined. In that instant, Jake understood this was not merely a battle of wills but a crucible, a test of courage. That could either forge a renewed family bond or shatter it beyond repair. He took a deep breath, ready to wrestle with the intricate dance of love, family, and authenticity. Whatever awaited him beyond this pivotal moment, Jake was prepared to embrace it head-on, for now, he was not just speaking his truth, he was living it. And as he stood at this new crossroads, grappling with what lay ahead, he couldn't help but ask himself, what will I discover when I finally embrace who I truly am? Jake's heart pounded, yet a different kind of adrenaline surged through his veins this time. He had confronted his family, but now he was faced with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The moment felt electric, as if he had stepped onto a stage, and the audience awaited his next move. He stared into the eyes of his uncle, the arbiter of tradition and expectation, searching for a thread of understanding. For a fleeting moment, he felt vulnerable, exposed. Would his family recognize the person he was trying to become, or would they shame him for daring to reach for something different? Risk everything, Jake whispered to himself in the silence of his mind. What do I have to lose? He thought about the years spent adhering to the roles assigned to him: son, nephew, and a dutiful family member. As if waking from a deep slumber, he saw that each year had chipped away at the artist within, the passionate observer of life who craved to express emotions through color and canvas rather than silence and subservience. I've ignored this part of me for too long, he thought, feeling an ember of determination flicker into life. The echoes of his aspirations called to him, louder now than his family's skepticism. The need to paint, to create was not just a whim but a vital part of Jake's identity that he longed to reclaim. Mia stepped forward, her gentle yet firm presence grounding him amidst the turmoil. "What's next for you, Jake?" she asked, her eyes radiating warmth and encouragement. "What do you need to do?" He realized his voice had swelled with courage. "I need to explore my art again. I want to attend classes, find my rhythm, and nurture this talent that's been locked away," he declared, expecting a backlash yet hopeful for some glimmer of support. "If you really want this, do it," Mia said, her sincerity cutting through the tension like the morning sun piercing a dense fog. "This is your life, after all." Jake marveled at her conviction, her belief in him acting like a balm for his anxiety. He needed that. The certainty she radiated reminded him that personal growth often required a village, whether that be a life partner, friend, or supportive cousin. But then came the moment he dreaded. His uncle's voice sliced through the air, sharp and punctuated with disdain. "And what if it all ends in failure? What if you can't make a living out of this passion?" Jake felt his stomach twist at the possibility. He had watched many in his family bury dreams for the sake of stability, of doing the right thing. But had this, too, been part of the cycle? The fear of failure that kept him shackled. Failure is part of the process, Jake said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his own voice. I'd rather try and fail than wonder what could have been. That's the risk I'm willing to take. The silence that followed was palpable. He had shifted the conversation from rebellion to focus, from defiance to a choice rooted in bravery. Jake realized that he could redefine his familial identity not by running away but by courageously pursuing his dreams. Mia looked at him, a mixture of admiration and concern dancing across her features. The rest of the family appeared stung by his unexpected resilience. Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite amidst the uncertainty. Perhaps in his steadfastness, they might see a path forward, a bridge between the man they knew and the artist he was determined to become, and yet, the weight of his uncle's gaze lingered. Jake knew that acceptance wasn't guaranteed. There were those in the room who would resist this new version of him. The prospect of rejection loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon. How do I navigate these family dynamics while preserving my path? He pondered, realizing he stood at a crossroads of more than just professional ambition, but also personal validation. As the moment stretched, Jake felt a tenuous thread of anticipation weave itself into his decision-making. He was ready to embrace the artist inside, armed with the understanding that growth breeds discomfort. The next step lay ahead, daunting yet like an untouched canvas awaiting his first stroke. As he prepared to speak again, a question formed in his mind: what if this very moment unlocked the acceptance he sought but feared to chase? And in that instant, he could barely contain his excitement. What kind of artist will I become when I step into the light of my own truth? Jake left the tension of the gathering behind him with each step, but the uncertainty clung like a second skin. The choice he had made felt liberating yet terrifying. He traversed the home's familiar corridors but saw them now as pathways leading toward a future filled with unknowns rather than echoes of expectations. That he stepped outside, seeking solace in the crisp evening air. The sun was hanging low, painting the sky with hues of oranges and purples. It felt like a signal, a promise of rebirth. Leaning against the cool wooden railing of the porch, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, inhaling the subtle scent of fresh grass mixed with blooming wildflowers. It was a moment to recalibrate, a time to affirm the decision he had taken, yet, with determination came doubt. What if his progress was just a fleeting moment of bravery? What if, once faced with true opposition especially from his family, he buckled under pressure? He had never truly ventured on this path before. The weight of financial stability pulled at him, reminding him of the practicality he had been taught to prioritize. Art is not just a hobby, he whispered to the wind, trying to convince himself. It's a necessity. He envisioned a canvas he longed to paint, each stroke a declaration of his existence. But the vibrant images clashed with images of his uncle's scorn and his family's whispers of disappointment. How would he navigate these doubts while staying true to himself? In the midst of this introspective turmoil, Mia's voice echoed in his mind: if you really want this, do it. He recognized her unwavering belief in his potential was a lifeline. But believing in his own worth, that was a different mountain to climb. In an effort to combat his spiraling anxiety, Jake took immediate action. He pulled out his phone and began searching for local art classes. The act of exploring options transformed his trepidation into something more constructive. He scrolled through listings, searching for anything that might allow his creativity to take root and flourish. When he stumbled upon a community center offering evening painting courses, excitement shot through him. Not because it was the only option, but because it was a step towards igniting the passion he had long neglected. I can do this, Jake murmured, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. He clicked on the link for registration, feeling the weight of his decision crystallize into something tangible. Yet in just as instant, a wave of fear swept over him. What if he sat in those classes, painfully aware of his talent gap, and learned he wasn't as adept as he thought? Jake's thoughts spiraled until he recalled a piece of advice he had read: every artist was once an amateur. Wouldn't every master be born from a series of attempts? The idea lodged itself in his thoughts, taking root and pushing back against the naysayers in his mind. He felt a swell of excitement mixed with an awareness of reality as he signed up. Now, with a plan in action, Jake had to face the next part of this journey, discussing his commitment to art with his family. It was one thing to declare ambitions within the safety of his own heart, but revealing those ambitions out loud would hold an entirely different gravity. What would come next? Would his uncle's doubts transform into harsh words, or would others join him in this new chapter of growth? As he closed his phone and stared up at the twilight sky, Jake realized he was on the cusp of something profound. The internal battle was far from over, his family's acceptance might still elude him. But the prospect of his own self-acceptance was igniting a flame within. With the evening fading into night, he felt a sudden burst of determination. I want to let fear dictate my future. What awaited him on the other side of this conversation? Would he find allies, or would he be met with resistance? Jake knew he had to forge ahead. The moment of truth was approaching, and he could feel the tension thickening in the air, wrapping around him as tightly as a newly stretched canvas. Jake spent the next day mulling over how to broach the conversation with his family. Each memory replayed in his mind like a skipping record, moments filled with laughter, harsh words, and the ever-present expectation to adhere to a prescribed path. He understood the stakes. The family gathering later that week would be the perfect stage for his revelation, yet each thought sent ripples of anxiety through him that he took the day to prepare. His heart raced as he set up an easel in his small living room. With trembling hands, he spread the canvas and poured out his initial energy in bold strokes of color that seemed to pour from an untouched well of ambition. Each hour spent creating gave him a semblance of focus, grounding his swirling thoughts. There was freedom in these strokes, a liberation he had long missed. However, as twilight faded into night, doubt would seep back in, shrouding his resolve in shadows. Words of encouragement from Mia echoed in his mind, invoking a sense of urgency. "You deserve this," she had said once, a private declaration he held like a secret talisman. But he struggled to bridge the gap between knowing he had potential and translating it into family acceptance. That night, as he covered the painting for the evening, he felt a twinge of fear knot in his stomach. What if their laughter turned to silence? What if he encountered the same disappointment he fought so hard against? The following morning, Jake sought refuge in his mixed media art merging paint, ink, and collage. He explored vulnerability through each piece, looking at past failures and moments of joy. By pouring himself into this work, he unearthed layers he never thought to reveal. It struck him that perhaps art was not merely a path to self-discovery but also a bridge to his family, a way to present himself unfiltered, without the constraints of their expectations. When he finally stepped into his family's kitchen that evening, the familiar sense of spices and baked goods filled the air, yet each welcoming smile felt like a trial. As laughter erupted around the dinner table, he stole glances at his uncle, hoping the man's expression would be more relaxed than usual. "Jake, you've been awfully quiet," someone finally remarked, redirecting attention to him. This was it. The weight of his decision pressed down as he opened his mouth, words teetering on the edge of reality and the fear of disappointment. What if they dismissed his dreams? Would they see him as merely chasing a pipe dream? "I've signed up for painting class," he blurted, the confession bursting forth like a glass shattering on the floor. Silence enveloped the room momentarily, a vacuum of surprise and potential misunderstanding. "Oh really?" His mother's eyes lit up, an unexpected spark of encouragement that met his uncertainty. "That's interesting, Jake." But his uncle's frown materialized like a gathering storm. "You think you can just throw away your responsibilities for hobbies?" The challenge sparked anger suffused with fear. Jake returned the stare, inching toward confronting the image of expectation he had wrestled with all his life. "Art isn't a hobby to me. It's who I am," he shot back, voice quaking with both conviction and fear, every nerve ending alive as he faced the brewing storm. Realizing he had crossed a threshold, Jake's heart raced, a mixture of defiance and worry cascading within. Would this moment of strength forge a new connection, or would it sever ties he clung to? The tension hung in the air, thick and tangible. Just as he braced for further confrontation, a gentle voice emerged from the kitchen corner, unexpectedly calm. "Tell us more about what you'll be doing, Jake." It was his younger sister, eyes sparkling with unfiltered curiosity. In her question lay a hint of solidarity. Jake felt the chasm of doubt narrowing, replaced by a glimmer of hope. Could this pivotal moment foster not just acceptance but launch a deeper connection? As the conversation began to flow, for the first time, he felt a part of something potent, the tug of empathy blooming in the midst of conflict, but just as he started to relax, his uncle cleared his throat again, the silence shifting once more. "Let us see how you handle it first. Show us what you create. Show us who you really are." Jake's heart sank. He wondered what he had invited, and if he'd be able to deliver. Would the act of creating reveal his true self, or would he fall into the trap of family expectations? As uncertainty hovered, he realized one thing for certain: the next brushstroke would mean confronting not only his past but also the boundaries that defined his relationship with his family. Now there was no turning back. The days that followed the tumultuous family dinner felt like a blend of anticipation and trepidation, an electrifying cocktail that powered Jake's creativity. He dove into his painting classes with fervor, tapping into the reservoir of emotions he had long ignored. With each stroke of the brush, he felt layers peel away, a catharsis both exhilarating and frightening. Gone was the scared man, the one burdened by expectations. In his stead stood an artist ready to embrace growth and transformation. That he discovered new techniques and explored his creativity in ways he never imagined, realizing that each canvas offered not simply a new creation but a chance to express his evolving self. Every completed painting emerged as a memoir of his journey, a reflection of the freedom he fought so hard to unearth. With Mia by his side, encouraging his artistic endeavors and joining him in classes, he felt emboldened. They explored art galleries together, attended workshops, and fueled each other's dreams, igniting a fire within him that was impossible to extinguish. Weeks later, Jake found himself at the local art show, standing before a gallery wall adorned with his work. He marveled at how his paintings had transformed into vibrant expressions of his inner world, the swirling colors and raw emotions an outward representation of the tumultuous road he had traveled. Inviting his family to see the exhibition was an act of boldness, an announcement of his commitment to himself as both an artist and an individual. When the day arrived, Jake's heart raced. Would they accept him as he was, raw and vulnerable, or still see him as a family member bound by expectations? As he scanned the room, he identified familiar faces moving from piece to piece, confusion and curiosity mingling in their gazes. They exchanged whispers and cautious smiles, taking in the essence of a man emerging from the shadows. Stepping forward, Jake greeted his family, his confidence radiating even amidst the uncertainty. The tension hung palpable in the air, yet he knew he had already crossed an essential threshold. "Thank you for coming," he said, sincerity underscoring his words. "These pieces represent a part of me that needed to be shared." His mother approached first, her expression a mix of pride and hesitation. "You've grown so much, Jake," she said, her voice trembling slightly, a break in her carefully composed demeanor. As the evening progressed, he engaged with his relatives, sharing the stories behind each painting. When they began asking questions about his art, curiosity transformed the laughter that once felt fraught with misunderstandings. Each conversation chipped away at the barriers of familial expectations, revealing the powerful connections embedded in familial love. He felt supported like never before, buoyed by their interest, and for the first time, Jake experienced the validation he had long sought. He was not merely a scion beholden to his family's legacy, he was an artist, a dreamer, a man willing to fight for his identity. Then, in the corner of the gallery, Jake spotted his uncle standing before one of his vibrant works, a piece that captured the chaotic beauty of family life. The older man's brow knitted in contemplation, weighing the depths of the painting against the shifts in Jake's life. A window of opportunity opened, and Jake seized it. "What do you think?" he asked, heart pounding. His uncle turned to meet his gaze, silence stretching between them, heavy with meaning. "It's powerful," he said finally, sincerity lacing his words. "You've shown us a side of you we didn't know existed." The acknowledgement resounded like thunder in Jake's chest, filling him with warmth. At that moment, he understood that his growth was not solely individual, it was collective, ripple effects manifesting within the whole family. Here, amid the canvases and colors, Jake felt a profound clarity emerge within him. He had confronted his fears, stripped away years of obligation, and emerged renewed. This was the culmination of his journey, the recognition that growth comes from facing truths, embracing oneself, and daring to become the person he was always meant to be. From that evening onward, his relationship with his family shifted. They began to draw closer, sharing laughter and dialogues that traveled deeper than mere surface interactions. Each connection, rekindled through vulnerability, rebuilt the walls that once felt like barriers. Jake's journey as an artist became an integral part of their identity as a family, a beautiful tapestry embodying strength, love, and acceptance. Jake had conquered the deepest battles within himself and emerged victorious. He stood as a testament to the notion that familial love could coexist with individual fulfillment, proving that authenticity was not a betrayal of heritage but rather an invitation for compassion. The final brushstroke of this chapter solidified Jake's growth as he realized the beauty of his artistry would not only pave the path for a burgeoning career but also chart a new course for his family's legacy, one defined by courage, creativity, and genuine connection. Now was the pivotal moment for everyone. It was time to choose to support. Jake could feel the gallery humming with energy, a quiet charge buzzing in the air. This was the moment to share this newfound sense of self with the world. For those who resonate with stories of triumph, this is your call to action. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click matters. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Even your support can drive positive change. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Be the support that true fans of personal overcoming stories understand is essential to foster growth and connection.